Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's me, Tokes. This is the Guna Tokes, and what a crazy night of football we had yesterday. Arsenal could be the big winners from that. It all depends on if they can take advantage in the game today against Liverpool, but Manchester City dropped big points in the title race. Aston Villa as well dropped a couple of points, and that means Arsenal can really put a bit of distance between them and second place, the chasing pack. Can they do it? Will they do it? I'm hoping so, because if we do, that's going to put us a big way towards getting that title. Hey, before I go any further, you know what to do, people. Like, share, subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And yeah, what a crazy, crazy night of football. Now that I've had some time to reflect on it and think about how big it was that so many teams messed up yesterday. I can't remember the last time that so many of the top sides dropped points, had players sent off, just loads of crazy things happening. I think the only team that really won yesterday was Newcastle, and they go up to 6th. That's incredible. That's how tight it is in the league now. You lose a game, you win a game. You can go from like bottom of half of the table, all the way up to 6th. That is crazy. The league is so tight this year. And which is why Arsenal, if they can put a bit of space between them and the rest by beating Liverpool later, that would be an incredible thing to do. But yeah, reflecting on the Manchester City game, I mean, I said in my video yesterday, they really got away with it. You know, Brighton could have, should have got a second goal, and then I don't think City would have been able to respond to that. Aston Villa, you know, there's a lot of talk about them being in the title race or not. I'd always said that their squad depth was going to hinder them a little bit, but where they are in the table is phenomenal for them. They didn't lose again, so they've only really lost one game in a while, and that was against us. But obviously, when you're fighting for the top, positions in the league, every drop point matters. Every little point here or there. A draw is as good as a loss at this stage. Like I said, especially if Arsenal can take advantage later. And that's what it's all about today. Arsenal taking advantage. It's not going to be an easy game because, hey, it's Liverpool. But Arsenal are the better side. They're better in defence, that's for sure, than Liverpool. They've got a lot of depth, and the players really know what they're doing. Midfield as well, I don't think there's any comparison between them. Maybe Ekatike, you can say he's in form for them and stuff, but I mean, we've got Saka, Trossard, and I have a feeling Gyökeres will have a good performance against Liverpool. It would just be like typical for him to burst out really onto the scene by getting a couple of goals against Liverpool. So that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, I mean, dropping points in the title race at this stage for City obviously puts them under a lot of pressure. I think with Maresca having left his position at Chelsea the way he did, and also turning down any kind of compensation, you kind of have a feeling that maybe, he's been looked at for the City job. And also, apparently City spoke to him. That's one of the things that caused the tension between him and Chelsea, really. And I think that's one of the things that emboldened Maresca to say, yeah, it's okay, you can stuff your compensation. So, if things continue like they are for City, Guardiola has been there a long time. He's obviously closer to leaving than he ever has been before, just by virtue of how long he's been there, And so this season, it's I think a season where if Pep doesn't win anything, it's kind of, I think, a natural end to that cycle, maybe. Otherwise, what is he going to try and rebuild a team, and how long is that going to take? I just don't see Pep sticking around for a full rebuild of City, something that he's never really done before with massive clubs that he's been at. He's always kind of left, but he's had so much sustained success with City that now that other teams have kind of come up to that level, Arsenal, we've been fighting for years to have the right to compete in games, and now we're at a stage where not only can we compete, but we can win and we can dominate, And I think that kind of consistency that Arsenal are showing, it's it can be hard to cope with that because every time they look across Manchester City or Arsenal, they just see Arsenal getting results, getting it done. Okay, we may concede a little goal here or there, or have the occasional slip up against Villa, but that's the exception rather than the rule. I think Arsenal are just such a settled team now. The players have been together for a long time. Arteta's been together, been there for a long time. He's built the squad up. We had that huge investment in the summer, you know, to really give us the squad to be able to compete with teams like Manchester City or Liverpool, because we had a good first 11, but we never really had the depth. It was always like, okay, if no one gets injured, then maybe we can compete. Now it's like, oh, it doesn't matter if someone gets injured because we've got somebody else to step in. And so tonight's game against Liverpool is a huge opportunity to, like I said before, to just make that statement and put some space between us and Manchester City and Villa. It would be an 8-point gap if Arsenal win tonight. Even if we draw, it's a 6-point gap. And then we played Liverpool twice. We've gone away to most places. The only place we need to go away to is City. But of course, we're going for a win. And that 8 points at this stage of the season, with the injuries that City have got, and you know the disarray that they have in defence, I think it's going to be a decisive thing, to be honest. They've brought in Semenyo now. He's going to come in and bolster their attack. But City have always had a good attack. They've been scoring goals. But what they've been unable to do is really solidify their back line. And that's what they really need to do. So I'm hoping they don't go in for Gueye, because he would be an incredible signing for them, I feel, and really something that they desperately, desperately need. When you look at it, it's crazy to think that City have invested so much money and been, you know, so successful for so long and had all these wonderful teams, that they find themselves, you know, like decimated without support, without the depth, without, you know, enough quality to come in and replace players. So much so that they're calling back a player from Watford, you know, and that's never a good thing, to get a player coming back from Watford. Don't forget, Watford aren't playing in the Premier League, right? And so he's coming from the Championship, and then directly he's playing in the Premier League. And you could see it in City's defence. They were a little bit all over the place. Kushanov, he's, you know, a bit naive. He's a bit young. I think he's got some good, you know, talent, but he's a bit rough around the edges. And so it's difficult for City to have stability in the back. As for Villa, like I said, they've been, I don't know about overachieving, but they've been doing exceptionally well. You know, I think they've been overdoing their XG and stuff like that. I mean, the goals that Rodgers has been pulling out for them, you know, from nowhere, those things aren't sustainable. You know, as wonderful as it is and great as it is to have these, you know, thunderbolt shots, you know, that Morgan Rodgers and whoever can pull out, those things are kind of, you know, usually bolts in the blue. So for Villa to have had such consistency with that, it's a little bit against the norm. So it's understandable that, you know, it's going to be difficult for them a little bit sometimes to score goals as things regress to the norm. But like I said, the big winners from yesterday potentially could be Arsenal. And this is where we need to take advantage of that. You know, I think Arsenal are now a very mature side, a very focused side, and a side that, you know, have grown together and know each other's strengths and weaknesses and can really support each other on and off the pitch. So I'm really looking forward to tonight's game. The atmosphere at the Emirates Stadium is going to be electric. The fans all know what happened last night. The players all know what happened last night. So everybody understands the importance of that game tonight and how much of an advantage it would be to get those 3 points against Liverpool. So expect everyone to be hyper focused for that. I've already done my match preview, so go and check that out on my channel and let me know in the comments what you thought about yesterday's craziness. Don't forget Chelsea as well. They had a mad game. Players sent off. Cucurella definitely is sending off, you know, holding the guy. Like I said, it's the guy's a little bit dirty. I think he's a good player, but he does try to, you know, use the dark arts as much as possible. And it was a blatant red card, and he's going to be missing for a few games. And I said it in my video yesterday that one of Chelsea's biggest problems is their indiscipline. You know, they make a lot of, like, errors leading to yellow cards and red cards, and then your team is always going to struggle. Cucurella, straight red, missing 3 games. There we go. They're going to have to try and manage that. Liam Rossignol, he's coming in, and he's going to have to deal with that. He's going to have to get the mentality right at Chelsea, because mentality is not really quite there. United, Sesko, wow, couple of good goals by Sesko. That was impressive. That's the first time I've seen him look fluid and free and scoring, nice goals in the Premier League. So maybe, the shackles are off a little bit. Amorim maybe didn't play to his strengths as much, and maybe he just didn't feel the confidence and the love for the manager. That can go a long way, especially when you're a striker. Confidence is key. So I expect those couple of goals to give him a big boost and help United now in trying to finish as high as possible. But, they still drew 2-2. Obviously, you can't, change everything overnight, but I think Amorim going was a good thing for United, obviously. Like, he was so wedded to his own style and unwilling to be adaptable or change, and that's not good for any manager, let alone a manager, managing one of the biggest clubs in world football. So that's something that they've got to deal with. And Tottenham as well. Wow. Jeez, last minute Semenyo winner. That is, football comes up with these stories now and again, and you think that somebody would have written a script about it. Like if somebody said, yeah, we're going to do this in the series, it's like something out of Ted Lasso, you know what I mean? So that's, fair play to Semenyo. What a way to sign off and bid farewell to the Bournemouth fans and get ready to go to play for City. I'm glad that, his last action was scoring the winner against Tottenham. That is hilarious. He's endeared himself in the Arsenal fans, that's for sure, even though he's going to Manchester City. But yeah, it was a wild night of football, and we've got a huge game, the biggest game of the round tonight, Arsenal-Liverpool. Arsenal really need to take advantage, make a statement, show they're serious, show they mean business, and yeah, it's going to be fireworks at the Emirates later. Hey, you people have a good day. I'll see you later on. Take it easy. Peace. Bye.